Hello, everyone. Welcome. Maid Mac here. How are you doing? It has been a while. When was the last time I streamed? Hold on. When was the last time I streamed? This is how we're opening the podcast, is me asking a question and then looking something up. Fucking fascinating. Are you well? You sound in a way I can describe as sick, high, or slightly drunk. Fascinating. I'm none of those things. So, yet. Let's see, 2 weeks ago. So it actually hasn't been that long, actually. It hasn't actually been that long as far as the break goes. I should be fine. Maybe a little mucusy. I don't know. It's fucking hot, I'll tell you that. But other than that, I am good. How have you two been? As I mentioned, I've got some shit going on, which I guess I might as well talk about. Stream break is going on. I'm sort of in the middle of trying to change over jobs. So that's basically what's happening. It's more of like a time issue. I just don't have a set time slot to stream right now that's convenient because I can't stream at work, obviously, but I also can't stream, I don't want to stay up super late. And I also feel weird about streaming super late in the first place. Doing well enough. You played Fear. That game did not age well, I'll tell you that. And I finished Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex, second gig. And then I have to get some dental work going. The silver lining is this will bookend my teeth issues. Okay. Well, that is good. What's wrong with your teeth now? Is it just like finishing up what was happening before, or... But anyway, yeah, so I'm sort of trying to change over jobs. I'm sort of on a job hunt now because I'm fucking miserable. So that's what's going on with me. It's nothing serious, same as before. Gotcha. But I do have an interview on Tuesday. So everyone wish me luck. And the best part is, if I do get this job, not only will I get paid more, but I will actually have more time to stream. So we will be getting back to... What the fuck are we playing? Dream Drop Distance. We're playing Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, which I was not enjoying, if I remember correctly. Fear aged a lot better than Half-Life, that's for sure, and I like Half-Life quite a bit. That is true. That is true, because I couldn't even make it through Half-Life. But we all know this. It's dialogue. I had to take a break from the stream break, though, because I talked a lot of shit when I started Dialogue Tree about how I could guarantee I could get this fucking podcast to go live on time every month. And if I fucking miss it, I would feel super bad. You finally started the first turn-based Yakuza game. That's 7, right? That is 7, in fact. Like a Dragon, as they've decided to start calling it in America, because they always called it that in Japan. I couldn't miss the podcast scheduled date. Yes, 7, which of course means that the next podcast isn't going to be till July. So look forward to July 7th. Plenty of time, speaking of which, as we're talking about the number 7. But, of course, this is Dialogue Tree, so we got the booze. That's right, we got a fucking Russian orange juice, as I'm going to call it. It's a screwdriver. I'm back with the old classics. I didn't want to go for a sort of coffee thing this time, and I didn't really have time to pick up any other alcohols, so it was either that or I just drank straight vodka, which... No. We're going for the classic screwdriver. Let's go. Let's see. It's a little boozy. The pulp might have been a mistake. Meantime, you're waiting for the System Shock remake to be coming to PS5 in 2 weeks. Very much looking forward to that. So, okay. Yeah, it's a little boozy. It was a little boozy. So yeah, as far as like PS5 games go, I was looking at, and I'll admit this, so you may or may not get a review for this at some point. I was kind of picking up Stellar Blade, just because like they made a whole big stink about it's like this game isn't gonna be censored, and you all know I'm very open about this. I adamantly hate censorship of basically any kind, so I was gonna buy the game just on principle. To be honest, it honestly didn't even look good to me. Like, I was less interested in the game than supporting the concept of not censoring the game than I was, I was more interested in supporting a game that wasn't censored for the purposes of being uncensored than I was for, there's dust on my webcam, than I was in the game itself. That game looks really crappy. It does not look good to me. People talk about how like sexy the character design is, and it's like a sort of like a Bayonetta sort of thing where I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't find the character design very attractive. Now, the model is based on a real woman. Gorgeous. Seeing pictures of her, absolutely gorgeous. Not saying anything about the model. I think it's the bodysuit. I whatever it is, I think I just hate bodysuits. I think women are inherently less attractive in bodysuits. I think bodysuits look better on men, and I think we should put more men in bodysuits and less women in bodysuits. So, that's your hot take of the night. She looks like one of those sex dolls you see at a store in Tokyo Red Light District. Yeah, I mean, you can dress the character up in other outfits, and to be honest, every time I've ever seen her in another outfit, I'm like, oh, that looks so much better than the fucking bodysuit. I think it might just be I have an inherent dislike of bodysuits. I don't know what that is, but I might just not like bodysuits. But But anyway, then that game came out censored. So I'm like, well, my only interest in this game was supporting the game because it was uncensored. So I sort of lost interest in it, but I still have a passing interest in it for one specific purpose, which is that there's like this huge like petition on change.org to try and get Sony to change it back. And it's at like 79,000 signatures. If they get enough signatures, and like they decide to change it back, and like actually uncensor the game, absolutely I'll buy it then. Like if that game goes uncensored, I will support then I have to support it. Like I have to. Then I have to support it. You got fucked in Cyberpunk 2077, which I did not know was possible. Petitions like that rarely amount to anything. I'm not expecting... It's a sort of half-hearted expectation. They do say that they're going to print them out and like drop them politely on the doorstep of the companies. So... And there is, to be fair, a lot more like tangible, like it feels more real to have a bunch of fucking boxes of paper of people who are fucking pissed at you than it does to see a bunch of signatures online. So I don't know if they print it all out. There's a non-zero chance this could work. I don't know. It's also worth noting, if you get like a lot of signatures, at the very least that shows there's a market interest in changing things. But I've lost faith in companies doing things exclusively for money. So, because apparently companies hate money and they love cutting corners and fucking over their employees, but they hate actually earning money. It's so fucking weird. I don't understand it, but maybe it's because like the market's just a mood ring or some shit, and so it doesn't have to make logical sense as long as it makes emotional sense. I don't fucking know. I don't understand businesses sometimes. There's a petition to have US localized Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, and it almost happened. I imagine this was before Soul Hackers was localized. Or did they not localize it until the 3DS era? The censorship in this issue seems like a non-issue. I will explain kind of why it is an issue. The major reason that the Stellar Blade censorship is an issue is because a lot of the sales for Stellar Blade were driven by the very specific promise that it would not be censored. So it's very much, it's sort of like that like Fallout 76 kind of thing where they're like, you get a free tote bag, and then they don't send out the fucking tote bags, and it's like, okay, you've literally lied and ripped people off, right? Like if they didn't say you weren't gonna get censored, like they weren't censoring the game, one, it would have sold less, because I guarantee you a lot of it was people trying to support the idea of a game being uncensored, and two, they literally like broke the release promises, which is the same fucking issue that companies do all the goddamn time. Like, you can't put up with this shit, is the thing. Like, so many companies do this, you gotta start fighting back. So I very much support the petition. I'm skeptically optimistic about it. They sent out bags were made of nylon and not a better material, like they said it was. I believe they said polyester. Yeah, but they didn't even do that until people fucking complained about it, is the thing. Like, people had to basically create a change.org petition and fucking yell at them until they sent out any sort of bag, which was still not the bags they fucking promised. So, speaking of, Bethesda's fucking in the hot seat right now with, fucking Star Drift, Star Dynasty, The Last Frontier, Starfield. Excuse me. The tote bag is a pretty major issue. People paid extra for it and didn't get what they paid for. I mean, it's the same issue with Stellar Blade, though. People pre-ordered the game specifically because it wasn't going to be censored, and then they censored it anyway. It's not like an exact one-to-one situation because they promised physical, tangible goods, but it is very comparable. People paid for a specific product, and they were lied to about the product, and then the product was delivered altered, even though they were specifically promised as part of the sale that it would not be altered. So, yeah, I mean, that is what happens. Like, it's straight up breaking consumer promises, specifically. So, yeah, there's a very good reason to complain about censorship. There's also complaining about the censorship for the very principle of why the fuck are you censoring it? Right? And like, one of the, like, things that people will say about it that you have to bring up is, like, if it wasn't a problem, like, if it's not a problem that it's censored, like, why the fuck did you censor it then, right? If it's not an issue, why do it, right? And if it's not an issue, why not undo it, is the thing. So it is clearly an issue, is the problem. Then there's Atlas, where you get what you paid for, but not on launch. Ever since Atlas started handling limited editions themselves, they've just started arriving long after the game came out. Yeah, that's scummy in a different way. I will tell you this: if they launch like 3 years from now another Stellar Blade, and they're like, okay, but this one's actually uncensored, fuck them. Fuck them. You don't get to do that. You don't get to, like, launch a real version 3 years down the line, unless you're Atlas, and then you already had my money, because I already paid for the game, because I'm a sucker in that way. I'm coming around on the screwdriver, I'll be honest with you. But, anyway. Yeah, that's the whole Stellar Blade thing. Hopefully they get it uncensored. I'm all on board that. I will purchase the game on principle if it's uncensored, but otherwise I don't even have interest in it as a video game. Sphere Hunter did a review of it, but is it like Demolition Man where you get fined for swearing? In Stellar Blade? I don't know if Stellar Blade has swearing. I actually don't know. I know they censored the outfits, and I know they censored the blood and gore. Like, one thing that they showed in the demo was, like, when Eve, I think her name is, like, cuts through an enemy, she gets, like, covered in blood and gore. So it's not just, like, a sexuality thing. They, like, censored the violence also. Like, they censored, like, a bunch of stuff. I don't know if they included language. Hold on, let's see if I can find it out. Stellar Blade swearing censored? No idea if they censored the actual... Yeah, no idea if they censored the language. Probably not. I don't know why they would censor that. But... yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the language. I meant the censorship issue in general. Well, language has been pretty handedly censored for a while now. And the gore thing, I believe, was confirmed as a menu option. No, it's not a menu option. Not as far as I know. I feel like I would have heard about this. I am not able to get any fucking answers when you look this up. I can probably look up the menu if we're invested. If we're invested in this news story. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think they. I don't think so. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, no, it's not a menu option. Here people are talking about why it's not in there. Yeah, so it's not in there. No. Yeah, so they also censored the gore. See? It's not just the outfits. Anyway. I think we're good on that one. Let's see. I had another secret topic to discuss, but I don't remember what it was. So there's that. Something I was going to say I'll bring up maybe next month if it turns into a thing. One thing I will talk about is maybe next month is, have y'all heard about the fucking Drake and Kendrick beef? Because it is getting fucking wild. All right. I don't know if any of this is true, but like fucking Kendrick mentioned that Kendrick did like a sort of diss on Drake and J. Cole. J. Cole dropped the diss track and then like the next day rescinded the diss track and was like, I don't want none of this. I'm out. And then Drake got attacked by like 21 different rappers on like Twitter, so he made a diss track called Push-Ups where he goes at Kendrick and he goes at like the other 21 rappers, and then this has caused a back and forth between Drake and Kendrick, where Drake has like accused Kendrick of like beating his wife, and he has said that like one of Kendrick's friends got his wife pregnant, which is fucking wild, and that like Kendrick might be separated from his wife and kid right now. And then fucking Drake or like Kendrick has accused Drake of having another secret child, because remember Pusha T revealed that he had a secret kid named Adonis. He might have another secret daughter and possibly more kids, and also accused Drake of having a sort of like Weinstein-esque sort of like child sex operation in like his house. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking wild. I don't know if any of it's true. If 1% of this bullshit is true, it's gonna be fucking crazy. Like, you could be looking at the end of like either one or both of their careers by the end of this beef. It's fucking nuts. It's still going though. This is an ongoing beef, so I can't tell you the full beef story. So maybe I'll come back next month, because like Drake dropped his like newest diss like what, like fucking 3-4 hours ago? When did that fucking song come out? New Drake diss. When was this? It was like Heart Part 6 or something. Heart Part 6. When did this come out? 3 hours ago. It came out 3 hours ago. So it's fucking wild. I will get back to you probably next month on this crazy fucking wild train. Excuse me. Oh, a bit of other unrelated news, completely unrelated news. I have been looking at tabletop role-playing games for a little bit, and I just wanted to say I do not currently have the copy. I should have it by Friday, so maybe I'll show you next time. But it came to my attention the existence of this tabletop role-playing game, and so I've picked up the core rules and the supplement. I picked up Thirsty Sword Lesbians and its supplement Advanced Lesbians and Lovers, which is a sort of what seems to be emotionally focused tabletop role-playing game. It looks interesting. It has a fun title, so I will get back to you. I will get back to you on Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Tell you how that goes. On another bit of news, speaking of tabletop role-playing games, the SMT Nocturne tabletop role-playing game has been re-added to Amazon. Looks like that's going to drop sometime in September. It says like something you'd have to open an incognito. I didn't name it, but anyway, yeah, so it looks like the Nocturne one will be dropping sometime in September. I'll have to pick that up too. I'll hit you back on that. I also found another one that's kind of interesting called Cyborg, but I'm less interested in playing that and more just like I saw a review and the fucking art looks baller, and so I kind of want that one more as an art book than anything. I saw that they have like a sort of like a wizard class which like manipulates nanites, and I think that is a great way to do wizards in a cyberpunk setting, is just say, oh, nanites did it. Because the fucking nanites can do anything. They're nanites. You know what I'm saying? In the SMT tabletop game, Jack Frost pronouns are listed as he, ho. That's fucking, that's hilarious. Shout out to Jack Frost then. He's baller. Alright, I think we're good to move. Because I haven't done anything. Nano Machine, son. Yes. Oh, yeah, Steam has Metal Gear now. They all have, like, mixed reviews, though, so I'm assuming the ports are shit. I'll pick them up at some point. They're, like fucking $20? I'm like, Konami, are you high? Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of, one last thing before we move on. Grandma Sack video game update. She's still playing fucking Final Fantasy VII. I don't think she likes it very much. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think she's liking it. But that's okay. Everyone's wrong sometime. So, I think we're good to move on to the first actual thing. Not a lot of topics tonight. Because I ended up working real hard on a fucking D&D campaign, so I haven't done anything this month, if I'm being honest. System Shock cost you $40. Yeah, but it's like a complete remake, isn't it? One of the MGS collection on PS5, but it's $60, and that's a new game. OG Final Fantasy VII or remake? The original? You think I'd put her onto that fucking Nomura garbage? Where he's just like, time ghosts! How y'all feel about time ghosts? And I'm like, fuck off, Nomura. Just make the game everyone wants. Fuck. So. Also, the next one's supposed to be the last one, from what I heard. I hear they're trying to do a trilogy. I want to know what fucking crazy goddamn pacing this game's gonna be to have a fucking, to do Final Fantasy VII in a trilogy? If Disc 1 took 2 games. Like, what the fuck are you can't, because there's 2 more discs that they're gonna do in one game? No. I'm saying that Konami is charging full price for a bunch of ports, and I bought a full remake for $20 less. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, no. It's fucking crazy. I agree. Absolutely. They're out of their fucking mind. When I heard that they're supposed to be finishing it next game, I'm like, what the fuck is Nomura doing? It's not possible. It's not possible to go in one game. At this rate, if you fucking did Midgar in one game, if that was one game, and you did the rest of Disc 2 in another game, you can't do Disc 2 and 3 in that time. Right? Like, what are you gonna fucking do? And also, apparently, they don't even have, like, Sid and, fucking Vincent as party members yet. I can't wait for the Dirge of Cerberus remake. Dirge of Cerberus could use a remake. Honestly, Dirge of Cerberus, I wouldn't mind. Considering Rebirth is like almost fucking split timelines and shit, and Aerith is dead in one and alive in another, and Zack is alive in one. No, Aerith dies in the new one, I think. I'm pretty sure Aerith is... Oh, you mean the timelines Aerith is dead and alive in the other one, not... Okay, I understand. I thought you meant the games. I was like, yeah, there are multiple timelines. So the only explanation for how they get through discs 2 and 3 in one single game is they go completely off the fucking wall. And I'm not interested in that. I don't know how people are not more outraged about this. This is fucking ridiculous. I could not imagine the final boss, the rebirth of Bizarro Sephiroth. Bizarro Sephiroth is the final boss of the Final Fantasy VII. Isn't that what the form's called? Isn't, like, Form 1 called Bizarro Sephiroth? No, Safer Sephiroth is the second form. I think Form 1 is Bizarro Sephiroth, isn't it? Yes, Form 1 is Bizarro Sephiroth. Form 2 is Safer Sephiroth. Yes, I was correct. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Hold on. Nope. Wheel of Names. Go over here. Turn on dartboard real quick. Go over here. There we go. Yeah, Bizarro Sephiroth. See? Yeah, the final boss of Final Fantasy VII is Bizarro Sephiroth. Rebirth is some crazy bullshit. I have an FF7 Rebirth shirt because it was free. I mean, I love the, like, aesthetic of it, and, like, the gameplay's not bad. I think they did a good job as far as, like, gameplay and, like, visuals for those games. But, like, they fucked with the story. Like, it's crazy. I don't know how more people are not outraged about them fucking with the stories. Well, in Rebirth, you fight that long before you're supposed to. That seems true. Because the final boss of fucking, like, the first Final Fantasy VII one, where you're still in Midgar, you, like, fight Sephiroth. Which is fucking no. I think you also fight Genova. I think you fight Genova, and then I think you fight Rufus, and then Rufus gets, like, killed by Genova or some shit, and then, like, Sephiroth comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh, it's all gonna be different this time, Cloud. We're not dying this time." And then they fight in the city, and it's fucking wild. And also, narratively, makes no sense, because that point in the story, Sephiroth would have fucking wrecked Cloud. It wouldn't have been close at that point in the story. That would have been fucking nuts. Better Square remake a Star Ocean second story R. That shit was amazing. I don't know why they trusted Nomura. Honestly, it's fucking baffling to me that they would have trusted Nomura. What's the next Grandma Sack plays? Probably Stardew Valley or Persona 3 Reload is probably what I'm going to turn her on to next. Probably one of those two. So, but she gotta eat her Final Fantasy VII first before I lend her another one. You gotta finish the food on your plate before you get a new one. I also don't own, for the record, Final Fantasy or Persona 3 Reload, which I will have to because they have the answer now. So I guess there's that. But probably Stardew, because I don't think Answer's out, and I don't think you should play. I would never recommend playing 3 without Answer anyway. So probably Stardew. But anyway, there we go. I think we're good. I will keep you updated on all of those stories, but I think it's time. Answer won't be out till September. Then she's going to have to wait till September, which it's going to take her that long anyway, because she might get through the games, but it takes her 73 trillion years. Maybe you should introduce her to emulation. I did that for Pokemon, because she played Pokemon, and I was like, here, check out this shit. Because she's slow as fuck. She is so fucking slow. It took her, what was it? It was, I think she got out of Midgard in like hour 30 or something. I was like, how the fuck did you spend that long in Midgard? Treating it like it's fucking Remake over here. Oh, shit. I think her Persona 5 playtime was actually so long that I could have 100%ed Persona 5 twice in the time it took. My grandmother needs help stepping on the curb. That's, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. I'm proud of her, but fucking hell. Oh, she definitely got lost. Let me She definitely got lost, let me tell you. I have seen her play like Persona 4. This is the fucking thing. She got stuck in a hallway because she kept walking back and forth, and this, like, she'd leave the hallway, she'd like get to the edge of the hallway, and then she'd turn around and walk back to the same dead end, and she did this like 9 times, and I'm just flipping out. I'm like, oh my god, stop. So yeah, getting lost was definitely what happened, for sure. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, here we go. Actual game review. Oh, hold on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 topics if we include Dartboard. It's going to be a short night, everyone. Also, our intro only took 34 minutes, and it normally takes like 50. So don't expect a long podcast tonight. Fun story, there's someone I know playing Ep.5, and her save is like 100 hours, and she's about to meet Haru. Yeah, we're just starting to shoot the shit multiple times during that game. Yeah, that's a Grandma Sack playthrough right there. There you go. You might know Grandma Sack is what I'm getting from that. All right, ready. We're gonna try out some new tech. Ready? Go. Okay. I know everyone was expecting the review for Master Detective Archives Raincoat, and I stopped playing it. Can't wait to hear how she handled Dark Souls. I might try and get her on that Dark Souls grind. I'm actually probably start with... Can her PC handle Elden Ring? Probably not. Probably can't do Elden Ring. I'm going to try and get her on that Dark Souls grind, though. We're going to try. We're going to see if we can't get her to do Dark Souls. She could use the hand-eye coordination help. I originally did it because I thought it would help her brain. And it is, for the record, helping her brain. But I think some hand-eye coordination could really help. Some manual dexterity for Dark Souls. I also don't think Dark Souls is that hard. Maybe start her with something easy. Maybe do like Dark Souls 3 or something. I think Elden Ring's probably the best one. Maybe Demon Souls because you can cheat in it. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But was Raincoat that bad? Raincoat's not bad. I think part of the problem with Raincoat, which we'll talk about in the full review, is, like, I went in there, like, the trailers didn't tell me that I was gonna be in, the trailers didn't describe this as Danganronpa, right? Excuse me. The trailer said, this is Danganronpa. I think I would have went in there with a different energy. I went in there being like whatever I played before Raincoat, I don't even remember at this point. Whatever I was playing before Raincoat, I was like, I really want a JRPG. And the trailers showed the main character with a sword, fighting big monsters. I'm like, fuck yeah, JRPG time. I load this shit up. It's literally Danganronpa. The sword is just truth bullets. And I'm like, well, this is not what I was expecting. So I sort of went in there with a bad vibe. I've also gone back and forth on whether I wanted to play Sekiro or not before. I ignored it when it came out. Danganronpa V3. We're done with Danganronpa. Danganronpa is done. Fuck the series. Fuck you no more. Next game. Danganronpa 4. I would love a Danganronpa 4. I would, real talk, I am in chapter 4 of 5 of Master Detective Archives Raincoat. So it's not like I didn't play it. I played almost all of it at this point. I will get back to it. I just haven't sort of had the time since I beat Sekiro. You'll notice Sekiro is actually the only game we're talking about tonight, other than all the other games we talked about tonight. Sekiro is the only one I actually beat over the course of these 2 months, just because I've been really focusing on like creating a D&D campaign right now. So it's sort of a time investment kind of thing. Sort of a similar reason to why we haven't been streaming anyway. So anyway. But yeah, it's not bad. I definitely don't like it as much. If I were to like compare it to a Danganronpa, it would be like my fucking second least favorite Danganronpa. Like, I think I like it more than 2, but we all know I had a bad time with 2, so I'd put it under like 1, Ultra Despair Girls V3 for sure. It's not like bad, it's just it also has a bad habit of like introducing a bunch of interesting characters, and then there's a sort of gimmick in Raincoat where when the main I am not supposed to be reviewing Raincoat, I'm supposed to be reviewing Sekiro. Anyway, when the main character solves a mystery, the criminals just die. So it has this sort of issue where it just burns through a lot of interesting characters way too fucking quickly. Which you could say the same thing about Danganronpa, but fucking Danganronpa had a larger cast, and you knew it was sort of a death game, whereas the fucking, I don't know, it's kind of different when Raincoat takes place in a full-ass city. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, Sekiro was on sale, and I always kind of was sort of interested, so I'm like, might as well pick it up on sale, give it a little shot. I'm a little more interested in a sort of action game than I am in a fucking Danganronpa at this point, especially because I am not vibing with this new fucking Raincoat quest anyway. Sekiro shadows poop thrice. Theoretically, I have heard you can live up to 5 times, and I managed to get my character to live 3 times twice in the entire playthrough. So supposedly, this is supposed to be completely different than all the other Soulsborne games FromSoft has created. Sekiro, that's like its own thing. Different gameplay, completely different. You can't even compare it to Dark Souls. You can absolutely compare it to Dark Souls. There is almost no difference in how I played this game than how I play any of the other games. It is the exact same gameplay style. Anyone who says that is just really bad at Dark Souls, I think. John. Yeah, no, I didn't change my fucking tactics at all. The big thing in this game that I think is different is it adds stealth. So did Elden Ring. I mean, honestly. That's about it. There's really nothing like unique as far as combat goes. You can't create your own builds, but you can upgrade your ninja tools, and that's not terribly different than like Bloodborne's hunter tools. I really don't think it's a large enough distinction to say that this is a solely unique FromSoft game. They really did just kind of make the same game again with Sekiro. And you don't make your own character, but your character in all of the other like Souls-like, I'm gonna call them Souls-like now. Like now that FromSoft has made its own fucking genre, I've heard people say that like Dark Souls isn't a Souls-like because it was the original. That's like saying Metroid's not a Metroidvania. It's a fucking Souls-like. So of the FromSoft Souls-likes, you make a genre, you're part of the fucking genre. You're not somehow above it. Fucking Lord of the Rings is a fantasy novel. Eat a dick. Anyway, yeah, of like the FromSoft like Souls-likes, You don't make your own character, but they never fucking did anything with that. Like you could have your character be from like Irithyll in Dark Souls 3, and then you go to Irithyll, there's like, you'd think there'd be like a cutscene like, I've come back to the valley of my own home bringing. No, fucking absolutely nothing. Metroid isn't a Metroidvania because it lacks the Castlevania element of it. It's just a comparison to the style of backtracking gameplay popularized in Metroid and Castlevania. In the Bloodstained fucking like Kickstarter, they tried to call it an Igavania, for example. It's just sort of the name of the genre. But yeah, I will say I think some of the early Castlevanias aren't technically Metroidvanias, but most of the Metroids are, and a lot of later Castlevanias are. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Would you say, like, Wolfenstein isn't... Would you say Wolfenstein 3D is not a first-person shooter? It's a first-person shooter. You shoot and you're in first person. So, yeah, Dark Souls is a Souls-like, Demon Souls is a Souls-like. Demon Souls is the first Souls-like. It's still a fucking Souls-like. Doesn't fucking matter. Also, even if you want to, like, take the... Because you're confusing sort of genre with terminology, so it's more of a semantics argument. And even then, wouldn't you say that, like... Let's be real. If the genre was called, like, Metroid-like, would Metroid not be like Metroid? It's literally Metroid. It could not be any more like Metroid. So, if the Souls-like genre is named after, like, Demon Souls or Dark Souls, you could not get more Souls-like than those games. I played multiple Castlevanias, and the games were very linear until Symphony of the Night. Like I said, a lot of the earlier ones, I think, for Castlevania are not actually technically Metroidvanias. Symphony of the Night is, for sure, but I think a lot of the earlier ones, I would argue, were... What would you call it? Like, 2D action platformer, probably, is what I would describe them as. But... doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, Sekiro is a fucking... It's a fucking Souls-like. It is. That's what it is. You might not make your own character. It doesn't lean as heavily action platformer. Yeah, 2D action platformer. Yeah, absolutely. Because there are also 3D action platformers, which is why I added in the 2D part. But, no, I'm bullshit. I love Just Fight the Pain. But, like... Yeah, like, you don't have the RPG elements as heavily in Sekiro, but I argue that, like, most Souls-likes are barely fucking RPGs in the first place. Like, the stat advancement in those games matters only in what weapons you use. And Sekiro makes the bold choice of being like, what if we give you every weapon? Which I've always argued they should do anyway, which is why Code Vein is the best one. Moving on. Anyway, yeah, if anything, I actually have to say, this is going to shock... Oh, by the way, this is going to surprise everyone. As a person who has 100% of Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, guess what? Yeah, I 100% of this game, got every ending, all the achievements, boop, boop! Fucking course I did. This game... This is what's going to surprise you. Not that I 100%ed it. That I liked it. And I liked it kind of a lot, actually. Like, more than you'd expect. Like, it's one of my favorites, if I'm being honest. And a large part of it's, like, I think the game... I have said this for so long that I think the RPG, like they're light RPG elements is what they are. They don't even commit to it. They're light RPG elements, and a lot of the FromSoft like Souls-like games held those games back. And so I will say that like getting rid of them, I think, as I've always said, vastly aided Sekiro, because it's a lot like what I wanted. This is what I wanted Bloodborne to be, actually. It is, like, this is what I want Bloodborne to be. I want it to be where you, like, because they have, like, the ninja tools, shinobi tools, maybe? Where you change out your prosthetics based on the sort of, like, enemies you're facing to sort of help you better, which is exactly how I wanted, like, armors and weapons and, like, hunter's tools to function in Bloodborne. This is what I wanted in Bloodborne. And I really don't know if there's a better way to describe Sekiro than this is what I always wanted in Bloodborne, to be honest with you. I think the fastness works well in this game because the recovery time isn't egregious like in all of the other games. You're fast, they're fast, you have a relatively similar tool set, and this game has a very heavy focus on parrying, which I was okay at the beginning, and then in the later half of the beginning I suddenly got really bad at, and I'm like, why can I not fucking parry anymore? I can't figure it out. So I looked up a video. Crazy enough, it was a video comparing Lies of P, which I have zero interest in, by the way. It's like Pinocchio Bloodborne, called Lies of P, with Sekiro's parry timing. And if I tell you, what do you think the parry timing is for a video game? Everyone knows how to parry in a video game. It's an inherent skill we've all learned at some point. You hit the button as the attack lands, right? Not in Sekiro. In Sekiro, you have to parry before the attack lands. So I kept getting hit going like, why the fuck am I not parrying anything? Turns out I was parrying too late. So I look at this parry timing video from Lies of P, where it's like, you gotta parry you have to parry before the attack, not during the attack. And I'm like, oh, well, that's counterintuitive. I mean, it makes more sense on paper, because why would you not deflect an attack beforehand? But every other game, you deflect the attack exactly the moment it hits. It's just universal video game language at this point. So yeah, I was getting fucked up by that. So the second I started to learn to parry before the attack hit, my issues with this game fucking evaporated. Like, what's the guy's name? Ganishiro? I hear a lot of people being like, Ganishiro is the ultimate filter of this game. It's where everyone gets their ass kicked. I beat Ganishiro's ass first try. It wasn't even fun. The second I learned to parry, it was like, kabow, kabow, kabow. And like, people can like describe it as a rhythm game. I don't feel that. But it's probably because I was able to play this game exactly how I was all of the other Souls-like games, which is to me, it's like, instead of hitting the block button, I hit the parry button, and I just hit the parry button when the enemy attacks me, and then I parry. It's the same mechanics I've been dealing with. Sometimes you have to dodge. If I have to say one deflection technique that I wasn't able to get a hand on, is when enemies go for a sweep attack, you're supposed to jump up. Usually, sometimes this is wrong, but usually you're supposed to land on their head to stun them, and then you're supposed to like lay into them with your sword. I always jumped away from them. I could never get the headland right. But other than that, I was pretty on point with my parries and deflections. Lightning counters are a weird introduction to the game. I was about 50-50 on lightning counters, but let me tell you, when you get a proper fucking lightning counter, you feel like a bat. Like when you jump into the air and catch a bolt of lightning and you're like, fuck you! And you shoot lightning back at the person, it's fucking awesome, honestly. I play Demon's Souls the same way I play Shadowrun. Run up, hit, run back, run up, hit, run back, run up, hit. They don't like recover health in those games. They recover health if you do that in like every other FromSoft game. So I'm surprised they don't like heal themselves if you do that. But anyway, it's a very smooth map. It's back from like what Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 was, where the hub world is connected, just like in Dark Souls 2 and 1. Yeah, like in 1 and 2, where the hub world is all connected. The connections make sense. I did find myself getting lost a few times, but that's okay. I'm not super upset about that. But like, yeah, I mean, the thing that gets me about Sekiro is I just really enjoyed the combat on this one. It takes some getting used to, but once you get it, you get it. They also say you can't level up to outperform your enemies. That's absolute bullshit. I did it several times because you get like attack bonuses when you defeat certain bosses. So if someone's giving you some trouble, you can leave, go kick two bosses' asses, come back. I had this problem with like Owl, like Father Owl is like, I was like, fuck man, this guy is whooping my ass. So I left, came back two bosses later, fucking murked his ass, because it not only changes how much health damage you're doing, but it also changes how much posture damage you're doing. So it is a large, actual, tangible difference. It just is. It is a very credible difference in how much it's going for. Most enemies in Demon Souls don't heal in my experience besides, like, Blue Knights. Okay, interesting. But yeah, it has a relatively good jumping mechanics. The grappling hook mechanics, I was like, this is going to be super imprecise. It's not bad, honestly. I'm shocked at the quality of this game. I am going to say this. I almost would have rather a Sekiro sequel than Elden Ring. It's better than Elden Ring. Sekiro is better than Elden Ring. I did all of the endings. I also find it interesting, honestly, the sort of like the way this game takes it. The enemy design isn't super unique. It's very sort of like bland grays and browns that you see in a lot of other FromSoft games. But I'll be damned if I didn't have a good time with it. And instead of like substituting like generic medieval castles, it substitutes generic Japanese castles. This has one of my favorite boss fights in any FromSoft game, though, which is the fucking folding screen monkeys, which there's 4 folding screen monkeys. One of them is really good at hearing you, one of them is really good at seeing you, and one of them just shouts for backup monkeys, and then the 4th one's invisible. He's following you like an asshole the whole time. I think there's also a secret 5th monkey that keeps the illusion going, and I think if you kill him, you completely end the illusion early. Because I saw in a video someone killed him, and then I tried doing that every other time, and I realized it just ends the illusion immediately. So I think there might actually be 5 secret monkeys, but I wonder how you feel about Let It Die. I'm not sure. I've seen gameplay of it, but I haven't given it a shot myself because I don't typically play free-to-play games. But yeah, no, Folding Screen Monkeys is delightful. Some of the enemy NPCs, honestly, I will say this, the mini-bosses in this game are like 1,000 times harder than the fucking... Like, if you were to ask me the hardest boss in this game, it would definitely be one of the mini-bosses. It'd probably be like one of the... It'd probably be like the Snake-Eye bitch that lives in the fucking poison pit. Or that fucking asshole general man right at the end of the game before you fight fucking Lord Ishin. Like, that guy and his one knight are complete assholes. I managed to cheese them out by just standing on a tree branch because they can't fucking fight me on a tree branch. Bow, 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 boom. But yeah, genuinely good time. Aesthetics, not bad. Gameplay, very good though. Very good. Yeah, I almost wanted to keep playing after I beat it. I'm like, I could almost go for another Sekiro. So, yeah, honestly, shout out to this game. I was mostly inspired to play it because I was like, well, they did a good job in Elden Ring. Maybe I'll give Sekiro a shot. Glad I did. Excuse me. Fantastic. This is my number 2 Soulsborne game. Like, of FromSoft Souls-likes, this is my number 2. Maybe number 1. I want to replay Dark Souls 2 before I put, like, a hammer on this, but, like, this might be my favorite. Like, this was really good. So, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Shout out. Surprisingly good. And I guess we're good to move on. Alright, so, here we go. We're moving on. Can you, by the way, this is full of alcohol. I'm somehow not drunk. Moving on. We're going to talk about TV shows because I'm out of video games. It's Invincible Season 2, baby. All right, Invincible Season 2. By the way, here's the new thing we're trying out. We're using backdrops so it covers the entirety of the scene rather than just like centering it in the middle of the screen. We'll try it. We'll try it out. So, Invincible Season 2. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not like it as much as Season 1. A major focus on this is sort of like Angstrom Levy and his issues with Invincible across the universe. We can excuse his weird hatred of good Mark to bad Mark just based on the fact that his brain got scrambled. I'm willing to let that go. We'll be like, man got poop brain. It's fine. It's no big deal. But I do feel like this is this Season 2, I think, suffers from the issues of, like, this is a setup season very much, right? I know a little bit about the comics, so I think some of this comes into play, but I think what this is mainly doing is setting up, like, the Thraxons. You ever seen that video replaces Omni-Man's dialogue with J.K. Simmons' rant about lemons from Portal 2? I haven't, but I feel like I should. I'm sure that's quite funny. But yeah, it introduces, like, the Thraxons, a little bit more about the Viltrumite Empire. I know Anissa. Everyone knows Anissa. When Anissa showed up in the show, everyone freaked out so fucking hard that I think if you didn't know who Anissa was from the comics beforehand, you now know, because no one will shut up about Anissa. I will say this about Anissa. They better not bitch out on that. I don't think they will. But they better not bitch out about Anissa when they adapt that in the show. But yeah, we see a little bit. I think we see a little bit of Conquest. If not, we saw Conquest last season. So yeah, it feels like this is a season of setup. Interesting fact, I know Shrinking Ray was supposed to die in the comics, and she survived. She was also a man in the comics. So it's interesting they didn't kill her. I guess we'll see a little bit more of her going forward. But yeah, apparently they're flying through this, because a lot of people were expecting Omni-Man and the Thraxons. Can you link it on Discord? Because I'm probably not going to watch it in the middle of the stream. But I know a lot of people were expecting the Omni-Man Thraxon thing to happen in the end of the season. Apparently no one can expect, like, fucking figure out the speed at fucking Invincible is going through. I think the creator of Invincible said something like 6 seasons or something like that, and if there's enough interest to continue past the comics, which from what I understand wouldn't actually be terrible, because apparently there was a pretty sizable time skip. So apparently that's a thing they could do. But yeah, for like 100+ issue comic in like 6 seasons or something at like 8 episodes, it's fucking crazy. There's anywhere it's dialogue from a game, put it into cartoon, it could be considered a meme. Yeah, go meme, I guess. Meme sounds right. It really doesn't matter. I stopped caring years ago. I cared at the very foundation of the Discord, and now it's like, whatever, fucking put an anime clip in the video game section, and who fucking cares anymore? Thank you. But yeah, like, they're fucking flying through it, is what it seems like. That's cool. I'm fine with that. I'm on board with it. I enjoyed it. I think I didn't like the final episode. I thought it was a very weak place to end the season on in my first watch. But as I went through it a little bit more, I was like, you know what? I'm actually coming on board a little bit more on the final season. I think they ended it on a very strong line where you get to see... like, Omni-Man be like, I miss my wife, and I'm like, ooh, I fucking felt that. So I'm very excited for season 3. I felt season 2 was mostly the setup season now. It really did feel like that. So I'm waiting for season 3 to pop off. There was like they did 4 episodes. I don't know if I reviewed the first 4 episodes or if I waited till right now to do it. It doesn't really matter to me, honestly. It doesn't make too much of a difference. People were like complained about that, and they were fucking right too, because they're like, oh, animation takes time. It doesn't take that much fucking time. Like, unless they didn't have, I guess I'm comparing them to like a Japanese animation studio, which would have pushed it out in that point, because they had like, what was it, like 4 years to push that out, and then they needed to take another break. And then I've seen it compared to anime season cores, but the thing about cores with anime is cores are like 12 episodes. So they pushed out and this was 8 episodes. So it was 8 episodes that they split into 2 cores. I don't know how they didn't fucking finish in 3 years 8 episodes. I mean, it's good. The episodes are like, what is it, like 40-50 minutes each. So double that, you could say, what is that, 16 episodes? Sure, I guess. But then that means they split it into like 8 episode chunks as far as the animation goes, which 8 episodes, 3 years, they're kind of just slow. Like, I've seen a lot of people with only, like, passing anime knowledge point out that it's like an anime, and I'm like, okay, but no, an anime would have gotten it out faster. So, I have heard mention in a callback joke that they did in the comics where they talked about how comics were produced, and they, like, changed it to being about animation. And they mentioned, like, you can check out the next season, like, next year, and I've seen people hopeful next year. I am just straight up skeptical. I've used the term before, skeptically optimistic. I'm just straight up skeptical. If it took them 3 years to produce 8 episodes and they still had to split that into 2 4-episode cores, you're not getting season 3 next year unless they've been working on season 3 this entire fucking time. Like, you are going to be waiting forever. Your fucking kids will have kids before you will see the end of fucking Invincible. I will tell you that right goddamn now. But, that said, I liked it. Not as much as season 1, but I did like it. Alright, moving on. So, I didn't want to watch something I had to get super invested in while working on my D&D campaign. So instead I put on a movie that I've heard was really good, which was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That's right, it's the sequel to a Shrek spin-off, baby. Puss in Boots, starring Antonio Banderas. I assume it's starring Antonio Banderas. I know he used to voice Puss in Boots. I can't imagine he stopped. Fun fact about Antonio Banderas, when I was a kid, I had to read an article about him and write a little bit about him, about Antonio Banderas' career and how often he plays gay characters. And I think he once, at one point, described himself as the actor who has played the most gay men. Which is hilarious, because Antonio Banderas, I believe, is completely straight. But you know what? Good for him. Takes the roles he can get, and he's not afraid to play the role of a gay man. You wouldn't see that with a lot of those, like, uber masculine actors that you could, like, really group him into. I don't know what I'm talking about. I should shut up because the alcohol's hit now, and now this isn't fully coherent. What I'm saying is Antonio Banderas is a really buff straight man, and you usually see them afraid of taking on more homosexual roles, and I think he should be proud of himself that he's not only willing to do that, but he is willing to do that so often that he thinks he's done it more than anyone else. I mostly know him as the dad from Spy Kids. He was also the dad in Spy Kids, which is, fun fact, I believe the only kids movie to have an R-rated spin-off, because in Spy Kids, the kid's uncle is Machete, which then had 2 R-rated spin-offs in Machete and Machete Kills. So that's fun. Starring an actor whose name is in, like, the middle part of my brain. You know, the part of your brain where you've almost remembered it, but you haven't gotten there all the way. He played Tortuga in Breaking Bad. Oh, excuse me. Tortuga. He was also in Community. Danny Trejo. Oh my god, you beat me to it. Thank you, Maid. Danny Trejo. Yes. Shout out to Danny Trejo, by the way. I like Danny Trejo. I like Antonio Banderas, too. I should be talking about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I have, in fact, seen the Schwarzenegger and Prague movie. Because I have seen probably every Schwarzenegger movie that wasn't directly related to him working out. So, was it called Junior? It was Junior, I think. Isn't Kindergarten Cop the same school that they based the Silent Hill school off of? Or am I literally too drunk to be remembering that correctly? Including Hercules in New York. I haven't seen that one, actually. You called me. You called me on it. You got one. I do know that movie. I've seen, I think, a Nostalgia Critic review on it, but I have not personally sat down to watch Hercules in New York. So you got me. But anyway, yeah, so the idea of Puss in Boots, if you haven't heard, which I'm sure you had, because for whatever reason this movie blew the fuck up, is that Puss is on his last fucking life, and then a dude shows up that they just call Lobo, which is of course the wolf, and just beats his ass and almost kills him. And, like, Puss's major claim is, like, a blade has never touched me, and then, like, in 6 seconds of introducing Lobo, a blade fucking touches him. Like, he just bodies his ass. So Puss goes into retirement, lives with a crazy cat lady, and stumbles upon Goldilocks and the Three Bears doing a mission for little Jack Horner, because they're looking for a sort of like magic wish-granting star that can grant you any wish. And so Puss ends up encountering his old fiance, and he also brings along a therapy dog. And, like, this whole movie is Puss, like, I am not fucking with you when I say that this, the major crux of this movie is that Puss has PTSD and is afraid of dying. This is all about Puss's, like, death fears. And like, it gets down to the fact where, like, you find out that Lobo is quite literally death, like the personification of death. Like, death itself is here to fucking murk his ass. And yeah, there's a lot of, like, interesting themes. I would say the central theme of this movie is actually probably learning to appreciate what you have, if you really think about it. Because at the end of the movie, Puss learns to appreciate the family he's made here, his, like, therapy dog and his fiance, and appreciate the life he's currently on rather than searching for new lives. Whereas Goldilocks learns to appreciate the family she found because she wants to use her wish to find her original family, but she learns that, like, the family she has now is her actual family, and so to appreciate that family. Whereas Jack Horner's central wish is that he wants all of the magic in the world. So where at the end, the main characters and even, like, the side antagonists of, like, Goldilocks and Three Bears, they all learn to be content with what they have and to appreciate what they have now, whereas Jack's undoing is the fact that he wanted more. He wanted everything, and that's what ends up defeating him at the end. And similarly, the other defeated antagonist is Lobo, whose central goal was to essentially take Puss's last life early because Puss didn't appreciate his lives. And so he was also sort of fended off by Puss realizing the end of his character arc, but also sort of overreaching as sort of a spirit of death for trying to acquire more than he normally would have. So the antagonists and the ones that lost were the ones that didn't necessarily learn their lesson about overreaching, whereas the ones who ended up, like, coming out better and completing their arcs were the ones that learned the lessons to appreciate what they actually did have. There's a surprising amount of depth to the movie. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is what I am getting at right now. Is it a good movie? Yes, it is. It is a good movie. Is it as good as people said? Honestly, I don't think so. I think people talked about this movie like this is, like, one of the greatest animated films of all time. And it is by no means a bad film, and I definitely enjoyed it. I wasn't in love with it, I think. But it is for sure good. I think some of the dialogue is a little awkward, a little too modern. I would have liked a little more timelessness in the verbiage they chose. Like, at one point, Death refers to himself as, like, Death straight up. And I'm like, that's a little awkward phrasing. I would have loved something a little, like, I know he was specifically trying not to be poetic, but I would have liked something a little more like, I am literally, like, I would have liked, like, he could have been like, I am literally death, or something like that. I am death personified, something like that. Like, calling yourself Death straight up feels a little weird, a little outdated. Like, that's a verbiage that, like, in 30 years from now, everyone's gonna be like, the fuck did, like, they're gonna have to look up their granddad and be like, I don't understand, Grandma. This man's cube's too gleam for the schnoobs. And Grandpa's like, I don't understand you kids. In my day, we had TikTok. It is well animated. I will tell you that. Have you seen it, Mac Tier? That's how kids are gonna. That's how kids are gonna talk in the future, by the way. Yeah. Pretty good film, not mind-blowing. What'd you think? What'd you think about Puss in Boots? The Last Wish. But yeah, I will say the animation's pretty good. That was good. It was like usual. I wouldn't say the animation is like my major focus on the film though. But I think Lobo is a really good antagonist though. I did like him. He's used very subtly, and he's not used subtly. That's wrong. He's used very seldomly. Excuse me. And I think that really sort of like helps push him. From the way everyone talked about him, I thought he would be like more heavy, but he's really only in 4-ish scenes. Like the initial scene, the one in the cart, he's in 5 scenes. The one in the cart, the one when they're fighting Jack Horner, the one in the cave, and then at the end. So he's in 5 scenes. So... But I think we're good to move on from Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, to another animated movie I watched. It's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I see one problem with this new backdrop trick I have is that it doesn't list the title anymore. So I have to kind of remember the name of the movie I watched. I'm going to say Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, though. So we're back with the Spider-Verse crew. This very much feels like movie 2. When the dog talks about the backstory, it reminds you of this. Oh, shoot. Can I watch this? What's going on with this? Heavenly Puss, 1949? You have fucking got me. Okay. All right. I'm going to be honest. If I got into a big sack and I could use that to skirt across heaven, fuck you, St. Peter, I'm in. You can't kick me out now. It's heaven. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this movie. The Spot, great. Loved him. Fantastic villain. Super sinister when he goes full evil. Lila. Love Lila. Lila's all aboard. Love the character interactions. Love the conflicts. Love that you can see old school Peter. The joke is that the kittens drown. Oh, that would make sense. Yeah. I will remind you at this point that I am officially drunk. Alcoholic. I really liked Pavader. I have to say he probably has the best joke in the movie to me, which is where they're in his hometown of like Mumbattan, which is sort of like a merger of Mumbai and Manhattan, 2 areas famous for terrible traffic. And he's like, this is where the traffic is. This is where the traffic is. This is where the traffic is. And then he points to like the British Museum and he's like, this is where the British stole all of our stuff. Which is amazing. I love it. It's probably my favorite joke of the whole fucking film. Absolutely delightful. I like Miguel sort of, not Miguel. Oh, fuck. I would know this if I was sober. The main character. He's so famous. He was so famous they imported him from a fucking Ultimate Universe. And the Ultimate Universe was a goddamn train wreck because it was too edgy and nobody liked it because of how fucking edgy it got. Miles. The main character's name is Miles. What was I saying about Miles? Oh, fuck. We got to the part where I'm too drunk to form coherent thoughts anymore. We left the part where I'm drunk enough that I'm giving insightful commentary into movie themes, and we've entered the part where I'm so drunk I can't give insightful commentary about movie themes now. Miles's conflict with Toby, with Spider-Punk. I also liked Spider-Punk. I thought I didn't think I'd like him at the beginning of the movie, and then by the end, and I even like knew the twist about him being like creating his own spider society or something, like, going into this, because this movie's been spoiled to hell and back. But I did come out to the end like, this guy's pretty fucking cool, actually. He sticks to his guns. And I admire that about him. The movie, I think, ends on a cliffhanger, doesn't it? Because I can't... After Miles gets captured by... Pursuer, Panther, Punisher, fucking... Pursuer? Pursuer's wrong. After Miles gets captured by the fucking... Hold on, I'm looking it up. Prowler! I knew it started with a P. After Miles gets captured by the Prowler at the end, and, like, Gwen gets picked up by the new Spider Society, which includes, like, Penny, who's now at this point gone through the entire plot of Evangelion. People say that. I actually don't think Penny... Like, I know Penny's universe is inspired by Ava. I don't think Penny's plot's that similar to Ava. If I remember, her family gets crushed by a building or something, which is very specifically not a fucking Ava event. Seen this one too. Glad my boy The Spot finally leveled up to a major villain. The Spot's kind of crazy that he's been pretty much a joke villain in every incarnation, because the ability to create, like, a shit ton of portals is fucking bonkers. It is a nutso power. So yeah, I think he's definitely one of those characters that gets, like, shit on mostly because his, like, name and gimmick is kind of stupid. Like, there's an X-Men character, Dazzler, has the ability to turn sound into energy, and people are like, and she's, like, disco themed, and people are like, that's a fucking stupid power, until you remember this bitch turns sound into energy. She's basically a fucking god. So, anyway, yeah, The Spot's like Dazzler. They're both Marvel, so that's fun. That will tie us into something that we will be talking about later, actually, with Dazzler. Anyway, Spot's cool. This is a good movie. This also feels like Invincible Season 2, though. This very much feels like a setup movie. I think the first one was more complete. I think it was more total. I enjoyed that. I liked seeing where the characters are. I liked seeing where the characters are going. I sort of liked the conflict with Miles and his parents, but it definitely does feel like this movie does not conclude its story, and it suffers from major, like, Season 2, Movie 2-ish. It's very, like, sequel in a, like, Movie 2 in a trilogy problem, where if you look at, like, the basic 3-act structure. Now, I want to be clear. There are writers that insist you follow a 3-act structure. You don't have to. I assure you, you don't. But I do have to say, if you're not following a 3-act structure, you should know the rules before you break them. You should understand why the 3-act structure exists before you go against it. And this is very much as you get to the rising action, so you have not hit the climax yet. By necessity. Like, the climax will need to occur in movie 3, and as this has not happened, this doesn't, like, this sort of sits in the midpoint of movie that wasn't sure it was going to get a sequel because they didn't think it was going to work, to really ball-ass, like, balls to the wall fucking movie. Kind of like the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie. This is completely unrelated, but I recently watched, like, a clip about Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm like, y'all, I want to rewatch Pirates of the Caribbean. I own the first 4 movies on Blu-ray, but if I'm totally honest, if I were to rewatch Pirates, I would just watch the first 3, maybe. Maybe the first 1, because I think Black Pearl stands on itself. I actually think Pirates of the Caribbean is probably a very good comparison, actually. Because nobody expected... I don't think Disney expected Pirates... If I remember right, Disney did not expect Pirates 1 to do well. And it's a very similar thing to, like, I think Sony did not expect the original Spider-Verse to do well. And then those movies blew the fuck up, and then they're like, well, I mean, trilogy, right? Trilogy for sure. And then the second movie came in, and the second movie's whole point is to set up plot points for the third movie. And that's exactly what this is. It's good, but it's not first movie good, right? That, like, it is really, say it's second movie good. Hold on. It's If I was sober, you'd have gotten this would be amazing. You'd be like, how does Sack do this off the top of their head? It's Dead Man's Chest good, right? The first movie was Black Pearl good. This is Dead Man's Chest good, which means we gotta get At World's End in the next one. I will say this. I actually will say this to Pirates 2, though. I think Dead Man's Chest was actually pretty good, if I remember. If anything, I think I actually liked Dead Man's Chest better. But I do understand what you're saying about it mostly being set up. Because it is mostly set up. But I think, like, narratively, I like Dead Man's Chest better. But that's me. I'll give it to you. Because I think you are right fundamentally. I think on a fundamental level, you're right. I think I just have a preference for Dead Man's Chest. Black Pearl, I think, is probably still the best, though. Because they didn't expect it. Also, this is a complete tangent from Spider-Verse. They're making, like, a new... Like, they're pushing through on this new... Pirates of the Caribbean with, like, female lead for the movies. And that's a mistake. No one cares if it's not Johnny Depp. Let's be real. No one really cares if you don't have, like, the full trilogy of, like, Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, and I want to say Keira Knightley. Is it Keira Knightley? Or am I drunk? Who played Elizabeth Swann? Yeah, it's Keira Knightley. I'm right. I'm fucking right. I'm a little less familiar with Orlando Bloom than Keira Knightley. That alcohol be hitting now. Yeah. Good movie. Can't wait for the third one. I feel like the third one, if the third one bombs, I think this movie might also be worse. If that makes sense. I think that's a problem with a lot of sequels, is if the third movie, like, sucks, then all the setup movie 2 did was fucking worthless. So, anyway, that's the end of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I might have had more to say if I wasn't just fucking drunk. We ain't on that alcohol bender, baby. That's Pineapple Express. I have a coworker who smokes a lot of weed. And y'all know people who smoke weed. It's like, if you smoke weed, it's like being, like, a part of the LGBT community. It becomes, like, part of your goddamn personality. Like, you need people to know you smoke weed. It is like a fundamental cornerstone of you. Not to say anything bad about people who smoke weed or are part of the LGBT community. But it does become a fundamental cornerstone of your identity, and you need absolutely everyone to fucking know it. And they mentioned Pineapple Express, and I'm like, well, I gotta watch might as well watch Pineapple Express. I've heard good things about it. I'm gonna watch Pineapple Express. I'm gonna see how good it is. And guess what? It's not. It's not good. I don't get it. I didn't like it very much. I want to circle back, because I feel like that might have been moderately offensive. It being LGBT is not my entire personality. I did not say entire personality. I said cornerstone. And I appreciate that about you, Maid. By the way, let me just tell you, I appreciate you. And that's why I wanted to circle back, because I felt like that could have been moderately offensive. I want to be clear. I am not saying anything bad about the LGBT community. I proudly support the LGBT community. All right, I support LGBT rights. I think I'm technically part of you. But what I am saying, very specifically, is you all know people who have made this a core part of their identity. You know someone who has made this a core part of their identity, and they will stop at nothing to make sure you know it. Don't lie to me. You know I'm right. You know at least one person. Probably one of those things that's better when you're stoned or edgy teenager. I am sure it is one of those things that's better when you are stoned or an edgy teenager. I was 100% sober when watching this. And I did not enjoy it. There's also a weird thing about, like, Seth Rogen is dating a high school girl in this. And, like, the movie knows it's kind of weird. But that doesn't, like, the movie knowing it's weird doesn't stop it from being weird. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Are y'all with me on this? Tell me if I'm crossing a line on anything I've said in, like, the past, like, 20 minutes. Because the past 20 minutes I have been drunk. Like, midway through Spider-Verse, I became drunk. So if I've said anything you disagree with, allow me to clarify. So that you stop disagreeing with me. Is she legal? I don't think so. But I also don't think he's actually having sex with her. I think they're emotionally dating. It's sort of a Scott Pilgrim situation, where Scott is, like, dating Knives, kind of, but, like, not really. But I don't think they're, like, fucking. But it's a very similar situation. But it's actually kind of weirder, because I think, like, Seth Rogen's, like, 30. So it's an even larger age gap. Like, real talk, if, like, Knives was 18... no one would give a shit about Scott and Knives. The fact that she's 17 is what kind of makes that relationship a little weird, which is why everyone's like, Scott, that's a little weird that you're dating a high schooler. It's a little weird. And Scott's like, we're not, like, really dating, though, right? Yeah. But, like, yeah, he's, like, 30, and everyone's like, this is weird. And they break up during the course of the movie. But I do feel the need to point out that it's a little weird, right? But yeah, the whole thing about this is, like, Seth Rogen gets his hands on some premium kush, right? That real good shit, called Pineapple Express, which I have heard is a real strain of weed. And he's, like, the only one that could possibly be smoking it. And so he witnesses a murder while smoking it, and he drops the blunt on the ground, and that gets him trouble with the local drug lords. And then he gets, like, fucking... how do I describe this? He gets entrapped into a drug war between the local drug lord and the other drug lord in the area. And the big issue I have with Pineapple Express is, like, this is a stoner comedy, and I think, like Mac Tier said, this is probably better if you're stoned or an edgy teenager, and I'm kind of neither, and, like, it's a comedy that I just sort of didn't find funny, I think, is sort of the issue. Is probably my number one issue with Pineapple Express. And I don't think there's anything more damning than this. I didn't find it offensive or anything. But I didn't find it particularly enjoyable, if that makes any sense. So, anyway, yeah, I think we're going to move on from Pineapple Express, and we are going to make up for my comments by talking about LGBT people who make that their entire identity by talking about a pro-LGBT post as we talk about CerebroCast, which is a podcast I've stumbled upon on Spotify, hosted by a literary agent named Connor Goldsmith. And I cannot tell you the tagline of CerebroCast on Twitch. I literally am not allowed to say it. Twitch would be on my ass if I say it. I think this came out when I was an edgy teenager and I didn't find it that funny. I think it probably, because I remember we're relatively close in age. If I remember, it came out when I was an edgy teenager also, and I just didn't watch it. So, CerebroCast is an X-Men-centric podcast hosted by a gay man, which is how I will choose to reinterpret the opening of this podcast, because I quite literally cannot say it. Also, I don't think I'm allowed to say it, because I have a lot of cards. like, you know how they talk about like end passes and stuff, like where you're allowed to say certain words, and I don't think I'm allowed to say that word. I think it's one of the few words I'm not allowed to, like, I think it's one of the slurs. I think it's one of the few slurs I'm not allowed to say. Like, I don't think I'm allowed to say that slur. But he's reappropriating it for himself, so it's fine. So it's about a gay man talking about X-Men characters, usually, I think almost exclusively with fellow guests, and it talks about specific X-Men characters, almost like, it has a heavy emphasis on the, does it start with a Q? It starts with an H and ends with an O, and there's 4 letters, which is why I'm like, even... which is why it's like, I think it's, like, because I don't think I'm allowed to say that one. I think it's one of the few slurs I'm not allowed to say. Because I have a surprisingly amount, like, I know I'm super pale, but I have a surprising amount of slur passes, as a like fucking like non-binary biracial person. I have a surprising amount of fucking slur passes, but I don't think I'm not allowed to say that one. So anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. So anyway, yeah, he talks about X-Men characters specifically in LGBTQ. God, I normally don't say the Q. I am drunk if I'm dropping the Q in there. Terms. And what I've learned is that, like, X-Men are surprisingly gay. But I really like hearing Connor talk with his guests about the history of specific X-Men characters and what their opinion... Am I allowed to type it? I'm gonna say no. We all know I would allow my chat to go fucking buck wild on like 90% of shit if I could, but I think this is actually a Twitch rule. So I'm gonna say please don't type it, MacTier. I think we all know which word it is. It starts with an H, it ends with an O, there are 2 O's in the word, and there is an M somewhere involved in this word. We all know what word it is. You could figure it out. You could do the math. You could do the letter math. But yeah, please don't type it. I won't say it. We'll all agree, because Twitch hates it. Twitch will be on my ass so fucking hard right now. But anyway, yeah, he talks about X-Men characters, usually through like an LGBT lens, and usually with a guest. But Sac, I'm terribly feeling fortunate. I don't know what to tell you, mate. The suffix for same. Yeah, sure. And I will say, it's a really interesting podcast. I love listening to him talk about the histories of the characters. He's very passionate. He will normally find someone who fits the general, like, because the X-Men have often been used as sort of like parallels to talk about like sort of like liberal diversity topics, basically. So he will find someone relevant to the character who is passionate about the character to talk about them. So he'll find like if a character's like notably gay, he'll find like someone who's gay. If it's like notably Jewish, he'll make sure to civil rights, exactly. He'll find someone who's like very specifically Jewish. If they're black, he'll talk to like a black person so that you can see it through a sort of culturally appropriate lens. X-Men was quite literally made as a civil rights allegory, which at the same time is ongoing. Exactly, yeah. And so, yeah, it really, like, CerebroCast looks at the characters through that specific lens while also doing a deep dive on the character's history and some of the more, like, troubling aspects. I selected several characters that I was, like, specifically interested in. He also talks about... X-Men adjacent characters. So it's not just specifically X-Men, it's any like X-Men-esque character. So even if someone's not like specifically mutant, like I think there is a Juggernaut episode, for example, and Juggernaut's not a mutant. If you didn't know Juggernaut wasn't a mutant, he gets his powers from a magical gem from some dude named like Cerabrac or some bullshit. So yeah, Juggernaut's not actually a mutant, despite them usually lumping him in with it. But yeah, I think there is Juggernaut episode. Anyone you would consider an X-Men character, he's slowly making episodes on, like Deadpool and Domino. Is Domino not a mutant? Deadpool isn't, because he gets his powers through Weapon X. I don't know if he has done a Deadpool episode. Does he talk about when Mystique got a woman pregnant? There is a specific Mystique episode. Mystique has gotten, I think, multiple women pregnant. Fun fact, because Mystique is straight up lesbian married to Destiny, who's like her old woman life, whose like real name is like Irene Adler, and they adopted Rogue together, and I think there is a retcon that makes. There may or may not be a Nightcrawler retcon. I know Nightcrawler got retconned into being the kid of Mystique and Azazel, but I think he may or may not be Mystique and Destiny's kid now. I'm not fully sure. But they definitely... they may or may not talk about some of the retcons, depending on when the episode came out. Because this came out, I think, during COVID. I think she's a mutant, but she's like a joke character. She does appear in the Deadpool movie. I don't know if they talk about Domino, but they talk about fucking Spiral. So, like, they talk about like some really obscure fucking characters. And some non-obscure characters. They start with the non-obscure characters that you've definitely heard of before eventually Connor's just like, fuck it, we're gonna talk about Lady Mastermind. We all know Lady Mastermind, of course. Everyone's favorite character, Lady Mastermind. Although I think they waited like 50 episodes to get to Charles Xavier. But yeah, what I will say is that I think some of the episodes get a bit long. But I do think it's the specific reason I'm reviewing this is because I actually like it. It's on Spotify and I think like Apple Tunes or some shit. And then while finding a logo to put up on the screen while I talk about this podcast, I also realized it's on like Connor Goldsmith's actual like literal website. So it's a watchable show. It's a podcast. Check it out if you like discussions about looking at X-Men character. If you like X-Men or you looking at characters through inclusive lenses. So look at that. I highly recommend it. I find it a very enjoyable show. I've seen several disconnected episodes, and then I think watching it, I'm on like episode 17. And I think there's like 100+ episodes, but I'm going to give it the thumbs up now. I will say I found one of the guests pretty abrasive. It was during the Storm episode. But the best thing about it is since there's basically a different guest every episode, even if you're not like particularly vibing with one specific episode, I'm sure you'll like the next one. So, CerebroCast, check it out. Hey, thumbs up. All right. That's going to bring us to... I was supposed to get that off the screen. Don't worry, I'll get through this alcohol by the end of the night. Something happened there. Some part of my brain turned off. This is the only podcast I listen to anymore. I used to listen to a podcast about 80s anime until I very quickly realized these fuckers had no clue what they're talking about. Oh, shit. I don't know if this counts as a podcast. I don't know if it's just me, but I think a podcast technically should have two people. Which I guess it does, because I have chat. Hey, chat, how's it going? It is reversed. Okay, I'm just really drunk. So I don't know if I count this as a podcast. Sometimes I'll watch one of the disconnected Cast with Super Beast videos. That's just a segment if I find the topic interesting. I think you might be too drunk. I'm gonna blow your mind. This is not the drunkest I've been on stream. The drunkest I've been on stream was when I was playing Persona 4 Arena. There is a rule against being so drunk it is hazardous to your health on Twitch, and I am okay right now. I've been drunker during a dialogue tree episode. Actually, I think during the White Russian episode I was drunker. At the end of the stream, I have been drunker, but during Persona 4 Arena, that is the one and only time I've been on stream where I am straight up violating TOS. I should not have been that drunk. I was so fucked up during that stream. This is one of the few late night talk shows I watch aside from occasional John Oliver or Colbert. I like Colbert. YouTube used to recommend me. I would call this a late night talk show, actually. I like that. I should start calling this a talk show. Oh. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to steal that if I'm not too drunk to remember to steal that. I used to like Colbert. What I used to do is I used to listen to his opening monologue, and pretty much that was the big part I was interested in, was the opening monologue. I thought I was going to have more to say, but I didn't. Anyway, hello everyone who's watching on the YouTube channels. I'm Sacrabalic, your own wife Hope, and I'm super fucked up and drunk. So welcome to Anime Dartboard, the program where we talk about an anime in advance that we've all already agreed to watch, but really only I've ever actually watched. Let's be real, I'm the only one that's watching these. That is a maximum of 350 minutes. And is dubbed in English because I have eye strain problems, and also it's a carryover rule from the last podcast. Even though the last anime I watched was not, in fact, dubbed in English, because I don't actually require that rule, because I don't really mind subs. It's just a headache problem. I'll watch when you get good guards. Welcome to Upotte, which is an anime where anthropomorphic guns attend school, and then a teacher shows up to teach them. Of course, we have all seen Upotte, so there's no need to talk about the plot, so we will just talk about the events that happened to Upotte, because I know you've all watched Upotte. Of fucking course you've watched. I'm having fun being dizzy right now. Woo, I'm so dizzy! I need to stop because this is going in the fucking video. I know you've all seen Upotte. So, when I read the plot of Upotte, I thought the characters were going to turn into guns, but they're just kind of like general metaphors for guns. Like, I don't understand the universe. Like, they don't explain how these girls are guns, and they don't explain, like for example, the main character, Fumu, was it? Has to wear a thong because she has a naked stock, which makes sense because she has to be a direct parallel to her gun, I guess. But they don't explain why these girls are literally guns. It is part of it. They're just like, hi, my name is Bretta N9MM. Yeah, that's correct, though. That is actually how this anime goes. But the problem is, like, the girl is like Bretta 9MM, but they don't explain how she is, like, how they created an anthropomorphized version of this gun. The girls have traits related to being these guns, and they function like the guns. Like, the one that's really good at shooting across mountains, like from Switzerland, is really good at shooting across mountains from Switzerland, and they use themselves as guns. Is it kind of like Hitalia? It's kind of like Hitalia. I've seen exactly 3 episodes of Hitalia because, like, one of my ex-girlfriends was super into Hitalia. And I'm like, I'll give it a shot for you, baby. And then I watch it, and I'm like, this is bad. And I'm like, what the fuck do you like about this? And she's like, I like shipping the guys together. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. that makes sense. I did feel that. Because Italy's first line in that entire anime is the word pasta. And I'm like, fuck, man, if I was Italian right now... holy shit. That reminds me of something that I will cut out, probably, of the YouTube upload for this. Not on my channel, but on the Shouting Through the Course channel, which is that I learned something today. Because when I'm bored, I've decided to make it a habit to go on Duolingo whenever I'm bored and I don't have anything else better going on, and I have to cut a few minutes to do some Japanese lessons. So that way, if I don't have anything going on, I'm at least doing something productive with my time. I learned konnichiwa. Sorry, it's konnichiwa. So it's it's like K-O-N, and then there's a second N, because it's ni-chiwa. So, first off, I realized that there's, like, basically 2 N sounds in konnichiwa. But I realized that konnichiwa is spelled really fucking weird. Because the character that's used at the final, as sort of the final letter for konnichiwa, is actually ha. And when I saw that, I'm like, did Duolingo fuck up? Like, I literally looking at it like, that's not wa, that's ha. Is it said konnichi ha? Am I an idiot? Have I been saying it wrong the entire time? So I look it up, and it is said konnichiwa, but you use the character for ha instead of wa at the end of konnichiwa. And I'm like, what the fuck? Apparently, it's because konnichiwa was usually part of a longer sentence that people have just stopped saying, which makes sense. The Japanese alphabet is kind of fucked. But I do feel comforted because people always talk about how English is fucking stupid and has a bunch of letters that don't make any goddamn sense and sounds that make zero fucking sense. And I personally feel validated that Japanese, which is almost as far away from English as you can possibly get, it is considered a tier 5 language. Like it is for English speakers, is as far away from English as you can get, also has words that are spelled just for no fucking reason. They are also spelled like complete ass. Not phonetic at all. Like, from the article I read, even Japanese speakers will sometimes spell it with the character for wa instead of ha, because what the fuck are you talking about? Why do we need C and K? See, I don't understand the reason for K. C comes from Roman. People think C is actually an unnecessary letter. But C is actually an older letter than K, because it was used in ancient Greek and then imported to Roman, which all only had 24 letters. So K is actually the new one. I've heard Korean is easier. C, I get it's K. K is weird. Maybe it's so that we have a harder K sound instead of a C, but in which case every hard C sound should just be a K then, right? Wouldn't that make sense? So yeah, English is fucking weird. It's good to know that Japanese can also be weird. Opinion on Poland. On Polish by the way, welcome the guys. I'm gonna assume I said that right. Keep in mind, I am fucking drunk out of my mind right now. Poland's pretty cool. I hear they really want to go to war with Russia. I don't want to go to war with Russia personally, but I admire their moxie, if I'm being honest. As for the Polish language, I know very little about it. I've looked up some Okay, so this is, I've never talked about this, I guess, actually. I have a campaign. You speak Polish for some unknown reason. That's fine. I have a campaign that I have ran, which is actually a sort of reboot of an older the players know, which is a reboot of an older campaign I've ran, which for a tabletop role-playing game. And the royal vampires, like the top of vampire society, are from Poland, Mongolia, and Mali. And I mostly focus on the Polish branch. So I have had to look up phrases for Poland because one of like the central NPCs is Polish. It made sense to me if one of the central NPCs is Polish is this Vampire the Masquerade? No, but it is the original was heavily based on Vampire the Masquerade, but the reboot is not very based on Vampire the Masquerade. But anyway, one of the main NPCs is a Polish woman, and so I occasionally slip in Polish phrases that I am almost certainly saying wrong into the campaign itself, because it makes sense to me that as a native Polish woman, when she gets really upset, sometimes she just fucking goes off in Polish to me. So I've had to look up some Polish phrases. And I'm sure I'm saying them wrong. I have an interesting appreciation for the country of Poland and the Polish language, but I don't have too much of an opinion on the Polish language because I am so far from fluent in Polish that I'm afraid I couldn't really give you too much of an opinion. Solution, Kyle V. Fortas. I do not understand what you are saying, Mactier. I am super sorry about that. But, so this is a bit of Polish. You've just got to pronounce, Ita haha och, peepers mini. I said that wrong. I want you to keep in mind that whatever I've said is through the lens of being drunk, but I will also say that in the case of the game, what I normally do whenever I need to say a Polish word is that I will actually look up to previous meaning. What I will do is I will try and find something in Polish, like a text-to-speech thing to pronounce it for me, and I will do my best by copying it. Like, that's how I will attempt to copy Polish. Och, peepers, mini. Mni. Mni. It'd be mni, because there's no vowels, I think, in English. But so I'll have a text-to-speech do it, and I'll try and copy how they say the best, and then I'll like write it down phonetically so I can do my best. So I'm probably not doing a great job, but no one at the table speaks Polish, so they don't fucking know how bad I'm doing. That's my thought press. Say it pre-epsze. Wow. I would never have gotten pre-epsze from that at all. What does it mean? What am I saying? Should I be worried about this? Hold up. I have become sober enough to realize I shouldn't be reading random things off of chat right now. Pre-EPs. Please tell me what I'm saying. Am I gonna get banned? But anyway, yeah, so I occasionally say phrases in Polish. No, I'm not getting banned. Okay, great. I love that. I love hearing that. I don't really care if I get banned, as I've mentioned before, because I'll just switch to YouTube at this point, which will let me say whatever I want. It's the fuck in fuck me. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I could probably, honestly, that one's probably useful. My only issue is that I'm too drunk to remember what I've said. I think you're trying to get you to say something embarrassing. That's okay. Fuck on its own is kurwa. Okay. I feel like I should know that. But again, I am too drunk to remember any of this conversation. This will be gone by tomorrow. So I finished my screwdriver, everyone. Anyway, Dutch and Danish are the two closest languages to English. There's like 60% cognates. So if you want to learn a language, Zach won't even remember half this podcast tomorrow. That's very true. If you want to learn a language, if you're an English speaker and you want to learn a language, Dutch, it's curva. Oh, is the W said like a V? Corva. Okay, gotcha. Corva. Say it like Corva. I am saying it like Corva. Yes. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, is it because W is W in French? It's like double V? So do you double the V? So it's like, is it like Corva? Do you like linger on the V a little bit because it's a double V sound? Is that right? Corva? Like in French? That's a good answer. That's fair. I don't know why I was asking you about French all of a sudden. It's a bit more in the V. The V. Yeah, all this will be gone by tomorrow. But yeah, I actually recently considered trying to learn Dutch or Danish, just because it's supposed to be super English, easy to learn if you know English already. But I haven't like committed to the idea. I also kind of want to learn Spanish, just because I know a lot of Spanish people. So I think that might be like, I don't want to learn. You can shout Polish. I don't like necessarily want to learn Spanish, but I think it would make my life easier if I knew a bit of Spanish. So I've considered learning Spanish, Dutch, Polish, but like Japanese is try Esperanto. The problem is no one speaks Esperanto, Max, here. No one gives a shit about Esperanto. You know some Spanish? I know some words in Spanish, but don't ask me to speak Spanish. Drunk Boy, do you know people from Spain or do you know Hispanic people? They're mostly Cuban. That probably answers your question. Excuse me. My brother? Oh, mi hermano? You have surpassed my Spanish knowledge with Pierdolsi. Famously not good at Spanish. Excuse me. But yeah, I've considered learning Spanish. Because Pierpez mni moshne. It does. You said Spanish people, so you had to make sure you were serious or being wasted. I would describe people who speak Spanish as Spanish people no matter what, to be fair. That is something Sober Sack would do. Polish time. I noticed the change. I noticed it. I'm sober enough to notice it. I'm not that drunk. I've only had 5 shots of 100 proof vodka. So, still pretty sober right now. I don't think they like that. There are people who speak Spanish. So, that's fair. I wouldn't mind being called an English person. Although I guess it would warrant a correction that I am not in fact English because I am not from England. So you might... I know a lot of Mexicans, and I know they really wouldn't like that. You might be correct. Yeah, that's fair. I know a lot of people who speak Spanish. Pronounce Monsiege like Monsigny. Yay. There's 2 Y's in that. Monsigny. That sounded Russian. Monsigny. Yeah, it would be, no, it would be nye, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be Y-A-A. So, Motzinyai. That sounds Russian. Mots. I'm saying Mots. Nyai. Should we go back to the anime discussion? The answer, next here, is yes, we should get back to the anime discussion. The worst part about all of that, Mott's with yay. Gotcha. Mott's yay. The worst part about this, next here, is that all of this is getting cut from the fucking anime video. 100% of this, because I make sure to cut those so that they only include the anime specific discussion. So none of this is making it into the fucking clip. I've been doing it for 20 minutes. Anyway, maybe it's the patriotism in me talking, but the best girl is the American gun. And when I was like, when they introduce her and she's like, I'm the American gun, I'm like, fuck yeah, you're the American gun. I joined this and I bring my super free. That's fine. Welcome the guys. Hope you had fun. Maybe it's my patriotism, but when they bring in the American gun, I'm like, I like American gun. This one right here that my finger is reaching is British. It's the other blonde girl that I'm pointing to that's not the British one. The one I'm touching is British. The other one is the American. She's, I want to say, Swedish. And she's from some country starting with a B. The B country. Anyway, fun fact, she's fucking useless because she's based off of a British gun, like a British semi-automatic, that's terrible. Because apparently the British aren't great at making guns. Anyway. So when the American came in one, I was like, I like the American one. I'm all about the American one. And then when I found out that she was voiced by Brittany Karbowski, my favorite English voice actress, I was like, oh, I love her. She's perfect. She's the best character. She has this whole fucking arc about like learning to draw. Oh, there are some good ones, to be fair. I'm sure that not every gun England has made is terrible. I am confident that the UK has made a good gun in the past. I just know that like specifically this one is terrible. This one is specifically bad. To be fair to Britain, I know that the US has made at least one shitty gun in the past. We got shotguns. Yeah. All these girls are semis. All these girls are semi-automatics. So there's that. But yeah, that is one thing actually I guess we should talk about. Is like all the middle schools and girls are semi-automatics, and all the high school girls are like rifles, and all of the like elementary school girls are pistols, which I find kind of interesting that they're like based on like shot composition. But then they introduce shotguns with the rival school, and it's like, well, what grade is shotguns? What's the shotgun grade? Who's the shotgun girl with? Yeah, I have to say, Upotte had a lot of world building issues. If I could say anything, I like, why are they guns? How are they guns? Like, they're just guns, and Upotte just expects us to understand that they're guns. So are old people missiles? I don't fucking know. I know that one of the teachers is Thompson, which is a very famous like gun in America. Like one of their teachers is basically the Tommy gun, which is also a submachine gun. So she's an adult. So this shows that like guns can grow up. But they also mention at the end of the season, maybe it's like Soul Eater. I don't fucking. Yeah, they have to kill 99 sinners and then one witch, and then they become a real gun. So it does show that guns grow up. Maybe guns grow up when the country that created them stops using them. Like, maybe that's it. Like maybe when your country stops using them, you become a teacher or something. I don't know how Upotte works. They get the gold skin. Maybe, I don't fucking know. Like, if I have one issue with Upotte, is I don't understand the world building in this fucking universe. Like, if none of the characters age, why is Miss Thompson a fucking full ass adult? Maybe it's like Parasite Eve, where you get cram upgrades onto your gun instead of getting new guns. I don't know. But it's also worth noting that they point out that the American gun was used in, like, fucking Vietnam, which was, like, what, at this point, 60 years ago? 40 years ago? Something like that? Like, 40 years ago. 40, 50 years ago. Vietnam lasted 10 years. I want to say 40, 50 years ago. So it's like... So is she 50 years old? What the fuck is happening? You achieved old people per kill, 100 gold skin unlocked. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The world building is fucked up in this. I enjoyed it. I thought it was relatively funny. I thought the anime was weirdly ashamed of fan service. Sometimes and sometimes not. Like, they mentioned that the main girl wears, like, a thong, again, because she has a sort of naked stock. And so, like, at one point, like, the male teacher gets a glimpse of her, like, theoretically, like, thong-wearing ass. And the whole scene, when you watch it, is, like, blacked out. And I'm like, oh, is this a localization issue where they, like... censored it. So I tried to find a different version, and it's censored in every release. So they just don't show you her, like, fucking thong ass. And the confusion of this is, like, they give you panty shots in other scenes, though. Like, you think they're ashamed of giving you panty shots, but they'll give you panty shots. So, like, what the fuck is happening in this? Like, you'll get casual panty shots where the girls are, like, sitting with their legs apart, and you'll see their panties, and I'm like, okay, so there's panties there. So, like, what the fuck was happening earlier then? I don't understand the setting. I don't understand the world. I don't understand the censorship in this. I don't understand Upotte. Anime is pretty regularly censored on Japanese TV and then released uncensored when it comes to DVD and Blu-ray. I know that, but that's why it's so weird I can't find an uncensored version of this. They're, like, genuinely, like, sometimes they're afraid, and it's the same version I'm watching, where they'll sometimes censor it and sometimes they won't. So they're not afraid of showing you the censored version. And usually when they censor things, it's not panties, usually it's, like, nipples. Like, normally when you see censored anime, it's a nipple thing, and there is a special Blu-ray release on this where they do show nipples. But, like, they just, like, it's inconsistent. I don't fully understand this. Also, the description of this anime makes it seem like the teacher is going to be more important than he is. It's like there's a new teacher coming to a school where he's going to teach anthropomorphized guns, how to gun or something. And this man is, like, in 2 episodes. He is not a character in this entire show. It is confusing. And, of course, everyone else watched this, right? We all made sure to watch this because this is Anime Dartboard, which is, of course, a book club. So, of course, everyone watched this. So, like everyone else, I assume you're also as confused as I was about this. I enjoyed it. I did. I liked the sort of interaction between the characters and the character arcs of the American gun. Really liked the American gun. Shout out to America. America's best country. Woo! You watch Technolize instead. You know what? As far as I know, with Technolize, from what I've heard about it, you might have won. You might have won this. That might have been the better choice. But yeah, Upotte is okay. It's fine. What did I give this? I don't think you like Technolize. I know PewDiePie likes Technolize. He talked about it as one of the anime he liked. But PewDiePie likes really up your own ass anime. I gave this a 6, which means I kind of liked it. This is okay. It's made by the same people as who made Lane. Yeah, I know PewDiePie gave it a thumbs up. I know PewDiePie was a Lane fan. Was a Technolice Lane. He probably liked Lane too. He's fairly he really is into that sort of like up your own ass. How do you call it? Like artsy sort of anime. But anyway, that is Upotte. Does anyone else have anything to say about Upotte, which we all watched, of course? No? All right, moving on to the Wheel of Names, where we will do the thing where we're going to... now that said, I did have Technolice. I will watch Technolice because it's a classic, and we all know how I feel about classics. We're going to shuffle. Gunslinger Girls is a Better Girls with Gun series. I read Gunslinger Girls. It is fantastic. I had to stop reading it because it made me too sad. That's true. That is a true thing I had to stop doing. My favorite character was, I want to say, Trialia. Which from what I understand, she's the only character that lived. So I probably could finish Gunslinger Girls. You watched Zom 100. I have heard good things. I have not gotten onto that Zom 100 train. All right. Let's give it a go. What do we got? We got a movie. We got Sengoku Kitan Yotuden movie. I've seen Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Controversial opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Y'all, we have a problem. The amount of alcohol in my system has increased again. And I have gone from drunk to real fucked up. This is Sengoku Kitan Yotoden movie, The Wrath of Ninja. This movie came out in 1989, which is why none of you have heard of this. Ghost in the Shell is my favorite cyber. I get it, honestly. I feel like Ghost in the Shell talks about issues that other cyberpunk really doesn't. Although, from what I understand, the central crux of cyberpunk is based on the concept of cybernetics, which is based on a study done by some scientists in like the 80s, which shows that like inherently humanity is just a series of feedback loops which are easily reproducible. And so the reason that I find so much cyberpunk completely boring is because the central crux of the genre is the exploration of the exact same idea, which is what does it mean to be human, which is the central crux of the concept of cybernetics, which have later been changed to sort of any other augmentation to a human body. But yeah, so apparently the genre central crux is based on repeating the same thematic idea, and that's why I think I find cyberpunk an inherently boring genre, is because the central thesis of it is the same thing over and over and over again. And it's not really allowed deviation, or it stops being cyberpunk and then starts delving into sort of dystopian. I need you to understand I've leveled up my drunkenness, and I've gone... Oh no, he's absolutely shit-faced. I'm shit-faced. You're correct. You've nailed it. I've become shit-faced. I'm going to copy an earlier answer so you can't shit on my taste in cyberpunk. That's the OG. Respect Neuromancer. Second gig was about a sect of Japanese government that is egging on refugee crisis with the goal of increasing militarism, wiping out the refugees. Yeah, not a common cyberpunk plot. I have seen most of Second Gig, to be fair. I think I have it marked as watched, actually, because I watched it on television. Anyway, let's fucking go. This is Sengoku Kitan Yotodan movie. The Wrath of Ninja. This came in 1989. This is by JC Staff, and it was directed by Osamu Yamasaki. Osamu Yamasaki's famous for something. What did this man do? Why do I know this man? He directed Seiri Gensoki, which is Spirit Chronicles, which was a 2021 anime, so I'll be watching that relatively soon. He directed a bunch of shit. This man is a known director of anime. He directed Shin Megami Tensei, the anime. The one where the main character turns into the tiger. I don't think Neuromancer is the OG. It came out after Blade Runner. It's Blade Runner, Neuromancer are generally considered like the foundation of cyberpunk. Touchstone. Touchstone is a great term. Touchstone is a term I wouldn't have pulled out if I was sober. He also directed Cream Lemon. Yeah, this man's been around the block, actually. He did Tokyo Vice, Joker Marginal City. This is a man with experience in 80s crap. Anyway, that's hour 26 minutes. So this is a movie. Y'all have no excuse if you do not watch Sengoku Kitan Yotodan movie. The hentai anthology? Cream Lemon's not... Is it hentai? I actually don't know. Y'all can ban me on Twitch if you want. I don't give a fuck. I don't think Cream Lemon is hentai though. It's ecchi. It's not hentai. Yeah, it's not hentai. It's just an ecchi series. No joke, I've seen some Cream Lemon and it's actually kind of solid. Fuck yeah. That's good news. That's good news. This man looks like Odin. This man looks like he sacrificed his eye for fucking all-seeing power. Anyway. The year a comet races across the sky, splitting the heavens from the depths of the earth, the dark god shall arise once again. Then the dark evil lurking in the shadows shall come out of the depths of hell and show itself in the present world. The emotions of the blade of the wind shall collect at the source of the blue light, and the three blades shall become one, vanquishing evil. I've seen a few episodes of that on P-Hub. That's... okay, so it's very ecchi is what I'm hearing. No, Cream Lemon is hentai, trust me. There is substantial sex in that series. Fair enough. Alright, you have... I will trust the people who have watched it over myself who was just looking at a mal entry. There's like a manga on here about like wrestling women who like wrestle in a ring that's like marked as an ecchi series, and I'm like, no, that's hentai. No, they fuck though. You're looking at the wrong mal entry, was I? I was looking at the one he directed. The year a comet races across the sky, splitting the heavens from the depths of the earth, the dark god shall arise once again. Then the dark evil lurking in the shadows shall come out of the depths of hell and show itself in the present world. Excuse me. The emotions of the blade of wind shall collect at the source of the blue light, and the three blades shall become one, vanquishing evil. I read that part. The year is 1580, which is towards the end of the Warring States period, or the Sengoku Basara, if you are unfamiliar with Japanese history. And the unholy armies of Lord Nobunaga Oda steadily spread across the of Japan. Fuck you! Oda Nobunaga was a goddamn hero. He should have been the creator. He should have led Japan. If Oda Nobunaga had taken over Japan, Japan would be a better place today. The world would be a better place today. Oda Nobunaga was a fucking hero. And he was great. And I wish he had won. Fuck you, Akechi Matsuhide, you fucking rat bitch. What was I talking about? Narrowly escaping the slaughter of her clan, a young ninja steals into the shadows. Fun fact, ninjas actually became a little more popular after the Warring States period, during the Sengoku period. No, not after the Tokugawa period, because they were started to use as spies, and that's when I think Tokugawa enacted laws against ninjas and shit, and like how many ninjas you could have. You'll see people claim that ninjas weren't real, and those people are like straight up wrong, because their sources that they're citing for ninjas not being real specifically state laws about ninjas. So why would ninjas not be real if they had laws about ninjas? Whatever. Anyway, into the shadows. She is Ayame, the last of the Kasumi clan, and the dagger she wields is one of 3 mystical blades. She is joined by Sekon and Ryoma, renegade ninja and possessors of the sacred sword and sacred spear. Now these shadow warriors must unite their weapons and skills to fulfill the prophecy of enchanted swords, or die trying. Alright, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Ninjutsu is literally martial art. It is. I'm going to be real with y'all. You'll know how I always talk about, like, the source is Annie DB. You know how I always talk about, like, this is why I added this. I don't know what this is. I don't know why I added this. And the plot doesn't sound good. I wrote it wrong, but it's like, that's fine. Maybe I wanted to watch the series or something. When did the series come out? In 87? In 1850, Nobunaga and unholy armies across slaying all who stand in their way. A young ninja escaped the destruction of the short sword. One of the mystic weapons that can slay Oda and as rule. During her quest, she is joined by 2 other ninjas. This doesn't sound good. Why did I want to watch this? This sounds bad. Don't look at me, I have no clue what it is. It's 1989, so there is somewhere a Sacking Mal Eternal episode where I discuss why the fuck I felt like watching this. So I guess if you want to know, look that up. But apparently this is the Dart. Check that out. It sounds bad. Straight up. Like, Drunk Sec thinks this sounds bad. So I don't understand. So, have fun watching this, I guess. I don't fucking get it. I don't know. I'm sure Sober Sack had a reason. Maybe Sober Sack had a gut reason or something, but Drunk Sack is like, Sober Sack, you're fucking dumb sometimes. Sometimes you're overthinking. And this feels like trash. But anyway, rather than... Maybe I saw like a clip or something on YouTube. I don't fucking know. Sometimes that'll do it. Anyway... If I see a clip on YouTube, I'll almost always watch an anime. Just because I don't like the concept of a YouTuber knowing something I don't know. Anyway, we're moving on to the end of the podcast. Nope, probably going to rewatch all of Sailor Moon or something better. You know what? That's fucking fair. That's fair. I can't even blame you. I can't even blame you. Do that instead, honestly. I will say Wrath of Ninja... Or maybe I'll watch Ergo Proxy. That's also on my list. I will say Wrath of Ninja is like an hour, though. So it really would not take you long if you want to hop on that dart board. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and call it quits. Like I said, I have an interview tomorrow. If I'll watch something better than that, that's for sure. If all goes well, I'll have more time to stream soon. So I'll keep you updated. Probably not next week, if I'm being honest. If it's on YouTube, maybe. Probably not next week, maybe the week after. I'm still trying to figure out, if I don't end up getting this new job or something, I'll still try and figure out when's a good time to stream. But the break is going to continue for a little bit. I will keep you updated. But I will tell you this, come hell or high water, I'm going to do my absolute damnedest to keep the podcast on schedule, which means you can look forward to the podcast on July 7th. That is happening. Lock that in. I will do my absolute fucking damnedest. I can't 100% guarantee, but I'm going to be like, I will do absolutely whatever I could to get a fucking July 7th podcast going on, or talk show, as we will, for Dialogue Tree. Look forward to that. Hopefully we get back to streaming later, so I'll be able to keep you more updated. That's my hope. But yes, yeah, that's it. I guess that's it. Actually, I'll tell you. Hopefully, I can keep streaming. I'll be able to stream sooner. I'll keep you updated. I'm trying to get more of a concrete schedule and time to do it. And yeah, July 7th. Shouting Through the Course should be unaffected. I've uploaded the entire next month, so your regularly scheduled anime reviews are fine. So, but anyway, thanks for stopping by, the guys. Thanks for stopping by, Magtier. Thanks for stopping by, Maid. Hope you had a good time. Hopefully I didn't say anything too offensive while drunk, or if I did, I hope I made up for it. Y'all are the best. I've been Sacrabalic, your Envoy of Hope. This is the shortest outro in history, and I think the shortest podcast in Dialogue Tree history. I will see you next time. Watch Wrath of Ninja. Bye. Bye. I forgot to type the thing, so whatevs.